They say the Hoover Dam's concrete is still curing after 90 years, but few stop to ask what that actually means, or if it could be hiding something inside. The viral myth claims it's a physics-defying wonder, but engineers faced a very different, very real threat, a hidden heat so intense it could have shattered the world's biggest dam before it ever stood. So what's fact, what's fiction, and what's really sealed in all that concrete? The phrase, Hoover Dam's concrete is still curing after 90 years, appears everywhere from viral videos to trivia books, but it hinges on a confusion of terms. In engineering, curing and cooling are not the same thing. Curing refers to the chemical process called hydration, where cement reacts with water to form strong bonds. This reaction starts as soon as water meets cement and continues slowly for years, but most of the strength develops in the first few weeks. Cooling, on the other hand, deals with temperature. When concrete is poured in large masses, like at Hoover Dam, the hydration process generates heat, enough to raise the internal temperature of the concrete to over 140 degrees Fahrenheit. If left unchecked, this heat could cause the dam's core to stay hot for decades, risking cracks as the outer layers cool and contract faster than the inside. The viral claim often skips over this distinction. It suggests the dam is still unfinished, or that the concrete inside remains wet or weak, as if the structure is in a suspended state. In reality, the dam's engineers recognized from the start that managing heat was the real challenge, not waiting for the concrete to set. They calculated that if the entire dam were poured as one giant block, it could take more than a century, up to 125 years, for the core to cool to ambient temperature. But that scenario never happened. Instead, the dam was built in smaller, interlocking blocks, each allowed to cool and shrink before being locked together. This strategy meant that most of the concrete reached its design strength within the first few months, while the cooling process was actively managed with embedded pipes and refrigeration. What remains today is a structure that continues to gain strength at a microscopic level, as all concrete does, but not a building frozen in time or hiding a liquid core. The confusion between cooling and curing is what fuels the myth. Engineers track both processes, but for different reasons, one for structural safety, the other for chemical completeness. Understanding this difference is key to separating fact from fiction when it comes to the dam's legendary concrete. Construction of Hoover Dam's main concrete body began on June 6, 1933, and wrapped up on May 29, 1935. The often quoted "built in 5 years" phrase actually includes the dam, power plant, and all related works, but the core dam itself rose in just under 2 years. This pace was not the result of a single unbroken pour, but a carefully orchestrated sequence. Bureau of Reclamation engineers calculated that if the entire dam had been poured as one continuous mass, the heat from cement hydration would have driven the core temperature above 140 degrees Fahrenheit. In that scenario, the center would have stayed hot for more than a century, up to 125 years, before naturally cooling to match the surrounding rock. The risk wasn't that the dam would remain soft or unfinished, but that the temperature difference would cause the structure to crack as the outside cooled and contracted while the inside stayed hot and swollen. To avoid this, the Bureau's design called for the dam to be built as hundreds of interlocking concrete blocks, each only about 5 feet tall. This approach allowed each block to cool and shrink on its own schedule, breaking the problem into manageable pieces. Frank T. Crowe, General Superintendent for Six Companies, Inc., was responsible for translating this plan into action. Crowe organized round-the-clock shifts, coordinated cableways, and kept concrete flowing from mixing plants to forms at a relentless pace. The schedule demanded precision and discipline, with each block poured, allowed to cool, and then locked to its neighbors. The 125 years figure became a popular talking point, but it was always a theoretical warning, not a description of the real dam. The true engineering challenge was to control the heat inside millions of cubic yards of concrete and prevent structural failure. The solution, interlocking blocks, cooling pipes, and post-cooling grouting, set the stage for one of the most ambitious construction efforts of its time. The result was a dam that reached its structural strength quickly, with temperature and volume stabilized through careful planning and relentless execution. Hoover Dam's concrete body was never a single, seamless mass. Instead, engineers broke the structure into hundreds of trapezoidal blocks, each about 5 feet high. These blocks fit together like a giant puzzle, their faces ridged with keys and grooves to lock them in place. This segmented approach made it possible to manage the intense heat produced as cement and water reacted, a process known as hydration. Every new lift of concrete, limited to 5 feet in height, was poured, allowed to cool, and then joined to its neighbors. The real breakthrough came with the installation of a vast internal cooling network. Before any concrete was placed, crews laid coils of thin, 1-inch steel pipes inside each block. Over the course of construction, more than 582 miles of this pipework were embedded throughout the dam. Initially, river water flowed through the pipes to absorb heat from the fresh concrete. As construction accelerated, an on-site refrigeration plant switched in, chilling water to around 42 degrees Fahrenheit. This plant could produce up to 1,000 tons of ice per day, a capacity matched by few industrial systems of the era. The cooling process was carefully timed. As soon as a block's core temperature dropped below 70 degrees and contraction stabilized, workers cut off the pipe ends and pressure grouted them at 300 psi, sealing the system permanently inside the concrete. Grouting also filled the hairline gaps between cooled blocks, creating a single, unified structure from many pieces. This active cooling network allowed the dam's interior to reach stable temperatures within weeks or months, not decades. By March 1935, all main dam cooling was complete, well before the final concrete pour. Placement rates reflected this precision. At peak, more than 10,000 cubic yards of concrete went into the dam and related works in a single day. Monthly averages hovered around 160,000 cubic yards, a pace made possible only by the block and pipe strategy. The combination of segmented construction, relentless scheduling, and engineered cooling meant Hoover Dam's concrete reached strength and stability far faster than the viral myths suggest. Beneath the concrete shell of Hoover Dam lies a hidden world that few people imagine. 4 massive tunnels, each 56 feet in diameter and stretching nearly 16,000 feet in total, were carved through Black Canyon to divert the Colorado River during construction. Temperatures inside these tunnels soared to 140 degrees Fahrenheit, and workers faced dust, explosives, and heavy machinery to keep the river at bay. After the dam rose, 2 of these tunnels were sealed and repurposed. Today, they house steel penstocks, pipes 30 feet wide, that channel water from the lake through intake towers and down to the turbines deep inside the power plant. This interior isn't a hollow void or a secret chamber. Instead, it is a network of engineered galleries and corridors. Inspection galleries run throughout the dam, allowing engineers to monitor for leaks, measure movement, and access drainage systems. These passageways are essential for maintenance and safety, not for hiding mysteries. Alongside them, the penstocks curve like arteries, feeding water to 17 main turbines that generate up to 2,080 megawatts of power, a figure that once made Hoover Dam the largest hydroelectric facility in the world. The dam's energy output supports millions of homes and businesses across the Southwest, and its design was always about function, controlling floods, storing water, and generating electricity on a massive scale. The human cost of this achievement is written in the official record. 96 workers died in industrial accidents during the dam's construction years, a figure confirmed by Bureau of Reclamation logs and memorialized on site. These deaths came from falls, tunnel blasts, equipment mishaps, and the relentless pace of work in extreme conditions. Safety standards of the 1930s lagged far behind today's expectations, but every name is accounted for. There are no lost workers entombed in the concrete, despite persistent rumors. Inside the dam, the concrete story isn't one of unfinished business. Early tests showed compressive strengths around 3,500 psi, already meeting design goals. Decades later, core samples taken in 1995 revealed an average strength of 7,230 psi. Evidence of slow, steady gains as the concrete continues to hydrate at a microscopic level. The dam is not in a state of suspended animation. Instead, it stands as a monument to engineering, with its interior galleries, tunnels, and power systems working as designed, and its concrete growing stronger with age. Today, Hoover Dam's concrete stands not as a mystery, but as proof of what precise engineering can achieve against extreme odds. As infrastructure ages worldwide, the real challenge is transparency, separating fact from viral fiction. The answers are inside if we're willing to look past the myths. Share your thoughts below.